Alright, in this session, we're going to insert all of the CSS we need for our new template. So double-click on the CSS directory and open template.css, which currently is empty. So we need to start to define the layout and the styling for our site. I copied and pasted the CSS from the notes below. Left is a float left with a width of 200. Main is a float left with width of 500. And right is a float left with width of 200. This corresponds to our left, main, and right divs in our index.php file. So go ahead and click Save. Now again, this isn't going to do much, but we'll take a look at it anyway. What it does now is it brings all of the left-hand modules into the left margin. And if we look at it with Firebug, our left column is a float left, 200 pixels. And again, with Firebug, I can play with this to my heart's content. Not changing anything, I'm just looking at it to see what might be an optimum width for this column. Now everything's pretty squished, so we can do a number of things here. We can take, let's say, take 20 pixels off, 180, 480, and 180. And add a margin of 10 pixels. Now, note a couple of things here. All three divs have a float left command, which is important. In a cascading style sheet layout, this has to be floated left, and then the next one is floated left inside the main container called wrapper, and the next one is floated left, and they all line up inside this large container, one after another. So if we define wrapper with a width of 900 pixels, then we can do the same thing here. Margin 10 pixels and margin 10 pixels. This is actually going to put 20 pixels between the left and center and right. So let's take a look and see what that does. You'll notice we now have nice margins between all three. We have a 10 pixel margin, a 10 pixel margin, so that's 20 pixels between columns, and the same thing here on the right. By defining our width of 900 with the wrapper, it gives us what's called a fixed width template. So if I go ahead and shrink my template, notice that there's no flexibility there. And it's left justified, so that gives us quite a bit of space over here on the right. Now you'll remember in our index.php we had a header div here with nothing in it. And of course that's not showing up anywhere because there's nothing in it and no CSS to define its characteristics. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's define our header with the following: a height of 100, a width of 900, and a background of a light gray. Hit save, hit refresh, and now our header has a light gray with a 900 pixel width and 100 pixels high. Now if we want to put a logo in the header area, inside the div ID equals header, we can put a div ID equals quote logo, and it closes out the div for us automatically. And then our template CSS file, we can define how the logo looks. Div ID equals logo, background URL. This says, okay, now go and grab the logo from a specific place. // means go up one level from the current template CSS file. Go into the images directory and grab logo.png. Of course, you'll need to download that and insert it into your images directory like you see on the screen. No repeat means we only have it once on the screen. Let's give this some dimensions. We're going to float left. That way the logo is on the left-hand side. Give it a width of 300 pixels and a height of 100 pixels. Now remember, the height of our entire header is also 100 pixels, which means this logo is going to be the entire height of the header area. Alright, each one needs to end with a semicolon and then close it out with a right curly bracket, or as Steve would say, a right braces. Let's press save. Let's save our index.php file, and now let's refresh our website, and now we have our logo, My City, right there in the header area. All right, let's take a look at our footer, the last section of what we're trying to do here. Div ID equals footer. Again, we need to insert the code to bring the footer module into play inside the footer div, and now we need to define how the footer is going to look. So we just come down here, # footer says this is a div, not a class. Let's make it the same color as our header area. Give it the same width as our header area. That makes it a nice, even-looking template. Give it the same height. And now our footer is there. But we have a slight problem. It's not in the right place. We have our left, main, and right. And our footer, which is supposed to be down here, only is shoved up here because, according to the CSS, it's not being floated. It's basically saying shove up against the next one that's available. What we need to put in here is a div class. Now remember, a class you can use anywhere, multiple times in your index.php file. So now we need to define the class, div.clear, clear both. What this does is that it says, okay, I want you to have the full width of the page available to put your footer div in. So because there's a left, main, and right, that div clear says it has to appear after all three. Really important for layout. So now, if we press save, go back over to our page, and our footer is at the bottom, all set to go with the module position for the footer. And here it is. And that div class equals clear really doesn't take up any space because there is no space for it to take up. It's important in your CSS when you're using a clear like this that it's clear both, which means left and right. You could have a clear left and a clear right depending on your situation. In the next session, we're going to start talking about conditional statements and home page exceptions. But for now, go ahead and do this exercise. If you've been watching along with the video, stop the video now and do the exercise that you see below in order to make sure you understand the concepts so far.